Hare Krishna. Welcome. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharyas Tadasasi Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Ki, Sri Giri Govardhan Ki, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Are we intending having kirtan here this afternoon or evening? Or is it some other time? Friday. Oh, Friday. Okay. Okay, Friday it is. Oops. Friday, yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 1, Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu, Text 22. Do we have our devices? Yeah. Apsara Muni Gandharva Siddha Vidyadharoragai Vitayamana Yashasas Tad Ashrama Padam Yayo Apsara Muni Gandharva Siddha Vidyadharoragai Vitayamana Yashasas Tadashrama Padam Yayo Apsara Muni Gandharva Siddha Vidyadharoragai Vitayamana Yashasas Tadashrama Padam Yayo Apsara Muni Gandharva Siddha Vidyadharoragai Vitayamana yashasas tadashrama padam yayo. Padam yayo. Apsara, heavenly society women. Muni, great sages. Gandharva, inhabitants of the Gandharva planet. Siddha, of Siddhaloka. Vidyadhara, other demigods. Uragai, the inhabitants of Naga Loka. Vitayamana, being spread. Yashasa, fame or reputation. Tat, his. Ashrama padam, hermitage. Yayo, went. Translation. At that time, the three deities approached the hermitage of Atri Muni, accompanied by the denizens of the heavenly planets, such as the celestial beauties, the Gandharvas, the Siddhas, the Vidyadharas, and the Nagas. Thus they entered the ashram of the great sage, who had become famous by his austerities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is advised in the Vedic literatures that one should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the universe and the Master of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. He is known as the Supersoul, and when one worships the Supersoul, all other deities, such as Brahma and Shiva, appear with Lord Vishnu, because they are directed by the Supersoul. Apsaro Muni Gandharva Siddha Vidyadharo Ragai Vitayamana Yashasas Tadashrama Padam Yayo. At that time, the three deities approached the hermitage of Atri Muni, accompanied by the denizens of the heavenly planets, such as the celestial beauties, the Gandharvas, the Siddhas, the Vidyadharas, and the Nagas. Thus they entered the ashram of the great sage, who had become famous by his austerities. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presta Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyas cha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, so we read yesterday, but I didn't really note it because I looked over this verse we're looking at today and I saw the sort of the continuity, something in the one verse leading to something in the next verse. So I didn't mention, but there's an interesting point here that that Atri Muni, engaged in his severe austerities, he had an attraction to having the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son. And basically he was praying like that. The verse 20 says, he was thinking, may the Lord of the universe, of whom I've taken shelter, kindly be pleased to offer me a son exactly like him. So that was their sort of his, anyway, very important consideration for him. He really wanted that. So he didn't really know who is the Supreme Lord and what's his nature and who is he as a person. Who am I appealing to and to get as a son? Although he knew, there's someone up there. There's someone up there. And I know that someone is the most important person, whoever he may be. And he's so important and such a big person that I'd really like to have a son like him. But what the real implication in personal terms of that might be, he didn't know. It's not completely unlike in the 8th canto the story of Gajendra. Gajendra the elephant got into great difficulty having been attacked. He was in the river and he got attacked by the king of the crocodiles. And of course he was in the river, so the river is the natural environment of the crocodile, and the crocodile is at home there, and the crocodile is just in water. He's in his element, literally. Whereas for Gajendra, the king of the elephants, he was out of his element and in a position where his capacity to respond to the attack was really quite limited compared to what it would have been if they had been on the land. So he also prayed. He's famous for praying. Also, it's something like, I accept there's someone up there. It seems there must be someone up there who's controlling everything and is very powerful and special. I don't know who he is really, but I just, it's kind of like I take it for granted he's up there. So I pray to him to save me. And then the Lord appeared after some time and did save him and delivered the crocodile too, who had been an offender who got cursed. So the Lord freed Gajendra from the very dangerous predicament, and he delivered the crocodile from his curse. So, but the point was that we were saying, it wasn't really clear. A lot of people, like the Christians, they pray to God. They pray to Jesus. They have this idea, at least many do, that Jesus is God. But there's very clear evidence just within Christianity that it's not quite as simple as that Jesus is just God, he just appeared and he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because Jesus prayed to God as his Father. So, there's, in fact, I read an analysis done by, would you believe, Ahmadidat. Did you ever hear about him? Fanatical Muslim preacher, and particularly fanatically anti-Christian. And he made the point, it was just a straightforward point, that if we look at how Jesus described himself in the Bible, then he said he was the Son of Man. I think about around 80 times, I forget the details. And then he said he was the Son of God, if I remember correctly, 4 times. And so like that, it's not quite so straightforward that God just appeared. But still, there's a fair number, they pray to him as God. Otherwise, when they pray to God, it's not clear who or what is this entity you're addressing. Just as if we say that Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, then from the Radharanath temple in Chatsworth at least, then we know this is who we're talking about. And it's not like maybe he's Nilachala Chandra in disguise or something. But it's just clear who he is. And the Muslims take it a step even further, that God is formless, and if anyone tries to depict him in any sort of personal terms, they become such offenders that the only proper way to deal with them is to kill them. Haribol. It's actually a fact. So this point here, this point about the lack of clarity on the parts of lots of people, it's an important and interesting point. In fact, many years ago, and I mean many, it might even be 35 or 40 years ago. Where were you 35 or 40 years ago? Previous body. Yeah, so at that time, one of the devotees had been given a little Christian comic book about something about approaching God. And so someone went and approached God, and then they had a picture of God. And it's a big throne. The throne is at least as wide as the seat that Maria is sitting in. So, for one person, it's big. But it's like heavily built. The arm rests are like, that wide. It's a really serious, big throne sort of thing, and God's sitting on it talking. But God, as depicted there, is, first thing is, he's a really big man. He's a big man. He's not just, he's way bigger than your average male. Sure, like really huge man. And he's really effulgent, and you can't see what he looks like. You can just make out there's a sort of humanoid form there in the middle of the effulgence, just some vague outline. It's a problem. It's a problem. And, well, we're very fortunate that by Srila Prabhupada's grace, ultimately alone, anyway, and by Krishna's grace too, via Srila Prabhupada, we actually know who God is, and we know what he looks like, and how he has different forms, and how he acts differently in his different forms, and he has pastimes and all these things. And as Indradyumna Maharaj said years ago, I think it was him, in a class somewhere here, he said, first of all, this was over a few years, first of all he said, we can give you Krishna's address. So you can write him a letter. Then fax machines came out, and he said, we can give you Krishna's fax number. And then email came in, and then we can give you Krishna's email address. I guess now it would be his WhatsApp address, or what you call the thing, telegram address. So, it's really an extremely advantageous position compared to like Atri Muni. There's someone up there somewhere, someone, I guess. No, there is. Yes, I accept it. But who and what the person looks like and all that, he actually just doesn't know. He just doesn't know. But in principle, not in personal terms, but in principle, he was praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the point that was made yesterday in the purport, which we didn't get into, but we'll sort of focus on it a little now, is that when he says, as Prabhupada says, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord of the universe is Vasudev, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. He's the Lord of everything. And by the direction of Vasudev, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva work. Therefore, on the direction of Vasudev, both Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva perceived the severe penance by Atri Muni, and thus they were pleased to come down, as stated in verse 22, which we're looking at today. So there's a very specific sequence there, and it's just an extremely important part of the picture of reality, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there. And if you take shelter of him, even as in this case, kind of you could say indirectly or non-specifically, but if you take shelter of him, as Prabhupada says here, He is that it's advised that one should take shelter of the Lord, the Supreme Lord. He's known as the Supersoul. And when one worships the Supersoul, all other deities such as Brahma and Shiva appear with him because they're directed by the Supersoul. Of course, this is one of the great points in Bhagavad Gita and just in Krishna consciousness in general, as Srila Prabhupada on many occasions said in little different ways, but like, if you want some favor from the government, for example, if you want some money, you can go to the Minister of Finance, because that's his department. And if you want some water, you go to the Minister of Water Affairs. I mentioned a while ago, I don't know if you remember, a couple of 3 or 4 years ago now, I guess, I was in Ladysmith. We had a program in the temple there, and there was water rationing in Ladysmith. And in that area where the temple is, it's the old Indian area, they, after the program, going into the evening, the water was turned off. And there was literally no water unless someone had collected some before in a bucket. And I wanted to take a bath, because that's what we do. We take baths. Devotees are people who take baths regularly. So I wanted to do that, turn on the tap, and there's nothing. So as it happens, the person who is the chief of the water department in Ladysmith is sort of a devotee, or he's definitely a friend of the devotees, Mr. Glenn Singh. So the devotee I was staying with phoned up Mr. Glenn Singh and said, I want to take a shower. Can you turn the water on? So just so I could have a shower, he turned the water on for the whole area. For hundreds or a few thousand people, just so I could have a shower. So, in many ways it's true that it's not exactly what you know, but it's who you know. So if you want some water, contact Glenn Singh if you're in Ladysmith. But the thing is, and this is the point, of course, that Prabhupada would make, and he made it on numerous occasions, that if you approach, the state president, shall we say, then you have access to all the facilities, because all the people who are controlling the particular individual facilities, they're all under the state president. And if he tells them to jump, they jump and salute on the way down, as they say. Yeah. So that's what has happened here. Actually, Atri Rishi doesn't understand that this is what has happened. Well, he can see what has happened, that Vishnu is there, because that's who he was, even though he didn't really know it, that's who he was appealing to. But also Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were there, because whatever Vishnu says or does, they comply. So the Supreme Lord came, they have to come also. And they came. So even though Atri Rishi didn't know it, that this is what's happened. Anyway, we'll be reading on, and because he wanted a son, as we read, who was, what did he say? Exactly like the Lord of the universe. Exactly like. Yeah. So, shortly, not tomorrow, but maybe the next day or something like that. Anyway, over the next few days, Atri Rishi is going to make the point that, well, they are going to say something like, you called? And he's going to say something like, well, I called for one person actually, but how come I've got three? And then they're going to explain that, well, we are, effectively you could say, we are one in three. So you've got your one, but in three. And it's, of course, there's so many devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam and in our literatures who pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they get the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They don't get Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. They just get the Lord. So how is it that Atri Rishi got the three? I mean, he's the only one, I think, in Srimad Bhagavatam who gets the three. I think everybody else gets the one. Well, the thing is that he is not exactly a really true, pure devotee of the Lord. He is a sort of Hatha Yogi, Ashtanga Yogi type of person. And it's not mentioned here specifically, but I read yesterday or this morning even, but I read how in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport, Hare Krishna, welcome. We wish there were more of you, but anyway. Yeah. So he was some sort of Ashtanga yogi, Hatha yoga, Ashtanga yoga. Hatha yoga is really part of Ashtanga yoga, strictly speaking. So, yeah, I read Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in his purport to this verse, actually 21 and 22 he's commented on as one. And he says that while Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva was standing in front of him, here we are, then he says that Atri Rishi was doing pranayam. He was doing pranayam at that time. It wasn't that he broke off from his practice and then entered into discussion. He was discussing, of course, but he was doing pranayam at the same time. So it's clear, even though he is elevated in many ways and even, he's so extremely austere, so he's got some sort of spiritual realization, but it's mixed. It's mixed. And so he gets a mixed result. Because you get, as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, whatever you focus your mind on, you will get that, you'll achieve that. It's chapter 8, Bhagavad Gita, verse 6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam Chajatyanti kalevaram tam tamevati konteya sadata bhava bhavata. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So that's how it works. If, and it applies to us, if at the end of these lifetimes that we're all in, we are really nicely fixed in Krishna consciousness at the lotus feet of Guru and Gauranga, then we will attain to them. Whereas if we're sort of, half and half, something, whatever it is, we will attain to that without fail. And even in these lifetimes, we've attained to the situations, at least that we were born in. And it's all connected with the state of consciousness that we had at the end of the previous lifetime, and which is connected with how we lived and how we were thinking and what we were focused on, what was important to us in the previous lifetime. Yes, so therefore, Atri Rishi, because of his condition, he got some very specific type of result, which was, you could say is a very good result in one sense, because at least the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there. But it's something different from what someone who's purely fixed in pure devotional service would achieve if they prayed to the Lord, please come to me, please appear to me, like that. Hare Krishna. Any comment or question, devotees? Oh, yeah, wait, yeah, just take the mic, please. Yes, just go ahead.
So I just wanted to know if the Lord appeared in those three forms, were they the self-same forms as Lord Shiva, Vishnu, and...
Right, that's also explained at some point. Where is it? I forget exactly if it was prior to these verses we're looking at right now, or if it's going to come up. But they are expansions. Where does it talk about? Anyway, I think it's going to come. Yeah. They're expansions. They're like, something like, yeah, okay. In verse 31, this is they're blessing him. You will have sons who will represent a partial manifestation of our potency. It's verse 31.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Question. Oh, Mother Marie. No? It's okay. It's all right. Yes? Anyway, tell us what it is.
Maharaj, I was wondering, in the Caitanya Charitamrita, is there a pastime where Lord Chaitanya arranges that one of his devotees cooks spinach in an angry mood?
Oh, yeah. Jagadananda. Jagadananda, with great difficulty and at great expense, gave Lord Chaitanya some scented oil for massage, like really, and a whole, sounds like a few liters of this opulent, sort of fit for royalty, super fragrant oil. And Lord Chaitanya refused it. And if I remember correctly, said, give it for the worship of the deity, something like that. But he definitely completely refused it. And Jagadananda became really, really angry. And he cooked. But then Lord Chaitanya, after some days, Lord Chaitanya asked him to cook for him. And Jagadananda, you know, when an ordinary person is angry with someone else, and the person they're angry with asks them to do something, I think in so many cases they'll refuse. They just won't cooperate. But when Lord Chaitanya asked Jagadananda to cook, Jagadananda immediately went in and cooked, and really cooked. I mean, different things. And Lord Chaitanya told him that when you cook in an angry mood, the prasadam tastes really nice. Something to that effect, yeah. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Well, he is Satyabhama, who is Radharani. So therefore Jagadananda, in a man's way, has that same sort of, you know, testy type of nature. You got to watch out what you say, otherwise he snaps at you. Hare Krishna.